Greetings, I'm George Boston Rhymes. This is kvci.blogspot.com in the city of Valdosta, Georgia. I picked up today's newspaper, March 9th, 2012, and I noticed on the front page, the headlines reads, Councilman not attending Council's retreat. And of course, this is none other than Councilman James Wright. The story was written by David Wright here in Valdosta, Georgia. And of course, this is the Valdosta Daily Times. I was at the Valdosta City Council meeting last night when James Wright stood up and said that, and I say stood up, I don't mean literally, I mean stood up in his brain cells and said that he was not going to attend the retreat because he felt that the system had been flawed. In other words, he even talked about for years they avoid the issue of being fair in the distribution of finances and support to District 1, of which he represents. And so I don't want to get into that now. I'm sure that there will be more to come out on that. But I respect James Wright because the headlines read, Councilman not attending Council's retreat. If you go back and you check my blogs and my YouTube videos, you will find out that this is something that I've been saying for decades. John Robinson have highlighted it concerning Section 3, Title 6, and money that's coming into the community. We have talked about the economically oppressed people and how they can't get access to equal coverage when it comes down to newsworthy events, etc., etc. And so I believe that we are at a period here in Valdosta, Lowndes County, and South Georgia in general, when things are going to change, regardless of those who want to hold on to the grip of traditions that have existed for too long here in South Georgia and Southeast and Southwest Georgia. And so I believe that change is coming. It's going to hurt some people because they refuse to change. They refuse to include others into the economic pie here in our area. Now, in the article also, we had citizens to be heard last night. And of course, Roy Taylor talked about and praised our police department, law enforcement. And I believe most all of us appreciate our members of law enforcement and our firemen, etc., etc. And so there's an article in the newspaper about that. But it seemed like the TV stations were not there. I'm retired military, and I've been to other areas wherein the news media are present at public meetings, and they report on television. Now, for over 3 years, the citizens in Valdosta, not just black folk, black and white folks, have talked about getting our public meetings on television, or at least on all radio stations, not just the conservative radio stations. But little to nothing has been done. On certain stations, conservatives, we hear what is coming up before a meeting. Then after the meeting, there's another conservative station that's waiting to tell the people in that community what took place at the meeting. While the majority, most of black African Americans here in Valdosta, does not get that equal amount of information on the stations that they listen to. Now, I intend to request to the mayor, council members, the chairman of the Lowndes County Board of Commissioners, and the commissioners that equal access, equal time to our elected officials be given to all radio stations and television stations, because I believe in fairness. And I know you who say you believe in Jesus, you who say you believe in Allah, you who say you follow the son of Amram and Yoshabel, under Judaism. You who say you follow the teachings of Buddha, I believe that the rightness of your heart want equality for every human being, not just a select few. And this is what makes me fly, is when I stand up for what is right. Now, let me get this before I close this out. We also had an individual from the community to stand up and talk about and against the new proposed prisons that is to come here. Now, when this beautiful brother, Wynn Robertson, spoke, they recorded it, and it's in the Valdosta-Lowndes Times. And we appreciate the coverage, because the citizens here have a right to know about what goes on at a public meeting. And then it goes on to talk about the city manager and everything that came up at last night's meeting. But let me say this. We had another individual to talk about the traffic light, Mr. Mitchell. There's a traffic light out on Clay Road. Clay Road is a strip of land, 1.9 miles. You start off on Griffin Avenue. The speed limit is 35 miles per hour as you travel north. Then you will come upon a 45-mile-an-hour stretch of land, which is only 3/10 of a mile, 45 till you get right at the foot of an overpass or bridge, and that 3/10 of a mile is 45 miles per hour. And across that bridge, when you come down, the policeman be sitting over in the ditch with a radar to give you a traffic ticket if you're speeding. Now, I brought this up at City Council meeting some weeks ago. I got no response. I took it to Larry Hanson, the city manager here in Valdosta, and Mr. Collins, brought that to their attention. They say they're going to get back with me. As of last night and today, no one has gotten back to me about that. Mr. Mitchell, the man from South Florida, who called the president of the NAACP, who called me, and I went out and rode with Mr. Mitchell and some more citizens, and we pretty near came to the conclusion that that looks like a speed trap. We cannot understand how is it that a 1.9 mile stretch of highway can be a speed trap, but it seems to be just that. Now, once again, only 3/10 of a mile is 45 miles an hour. I asked them to explain that. Now, Mr. Mitchell is due in court, I think it is on the 14th, a few days from now. Now, if he's found guilty, he will have to pay a fine. And we must know that that is in a low economically oppressed area, which means mostly low-income blacks, low-income whites will mostly be getting tickets in that area. Now, it's not about a race thing. It's about a right thing. And last night, I didn't criticize any member of law enforcement. All I said was that we need to take a look at that stretch of roadway. Now, what did you read in the Valdosta-Lowndes Times about that? What did you read in the Valdosta-Lowndes Times about what was brought up at a public meeting here in Valdosta, Lowndes County, the state of Georgia, and in the United States of America, in the land of the free and the home of the brave? And if you do not know what I brought up before City Council, and if you do not know what Mr. Mitchell said at City Council meeting, then any person of average intelligence must ask a question. Why was it not published in our only newspaper, our only public newspaper done locally? We also understand that America's Georgia only have approximately 19,000 people, and they have 5 to 6 newspapers there. I have been saying that it seems like there's somebody here in South Georgia. Listen, this is not a hate thing. This is a truth thing, and I appeal unto anybody to condemn me that we are home of Moody Air Force Base, Valdosta State University, Wiregrass Technical College, Georgia Military College, home of Kendaloo Golf Course, home of Wild Adventures Theme Park, Francis Lake, and many other historical attractions, but don't have but one newspaper, in addition, USA Today as well, but only one local newspaper. Now, if information at public meetings, listen, if information at public meetings cannot be published in our only local newspaper, how will the people ever know what's going on in their community? How can they vote wisely? That's just a question. Now, what I'm going to do in the next clip, I'm going to share with you, I'm going to title it, The Voice of the Voiceless. Yeah, so when you go to YouTube, look for The Voice of the Voiceless, because I'm going to play the complete address to Mayor Gale, Councilman Wright, Councilman Yokes, Councilman White, Councilman Payton, Councilman Norton, Councilman Carroll, Councilman Vickers, City Manager Larry Hanson, and every person that attended that public meeting in the city of Valdosta and Lowndes County, Georgia. I want you to listen to our addresses before our elected officials. Then I want you to understand why. Ask yourself, and why did not the editor publish any of this information in the newspaper? Ask yourself why your local television stations fail to include Clay Road, wherein people are getting traffic tickets. Why would that not be of concern? It reminds me of what James Wright talked about, and I have shown you about Troop Street. We have talked about Section 3. We've taken pictures of the Hudson Docket area before they started renovation. We got all that on my blog, kvci.blogspot.com. And many other problems in our community, but our local news media in South Georgia ignored it. Can you imagine a Senator Robert Brown coming to South Georgia along with Representative Tyrone Brooks and David Lucas and Helen Butler and other elected officials to Brooks County twice, and all of that news was just totally ignored, as if those black concerns and poor white concerns is of no value. Did you know that a NAACP branch has been set up in Quitman as a result of the Quitman 10 and the attention that they have gotten? But here in South Georgia, your newspapers, your television stations refuse to even attend the meetings. And so we have a lot of people here in South Georgia that would love to have Oprah Winfrey, Bill Cosby, Whoopi Goldberg, Louis Farrakhan, Muhammad Ali, some of your rap artists to come in here and take a look and tell the story about the people that has been locked out of the process. But they can volunteer to serve in Kuwait, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Vietnam, and every war of this great nation. So very few people want to do what I'm doing. But I am committed because I served my country for over 20 years. And I believe that it is indeed time for a change in South Georgia, Southeast, and Southwest Georgia in particular. We're not going to allow anybody to make all the people in South Georgia deaf, dumb, and blind because they refuse to tell us, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. And so the next clip will be the addresses. Public address to and before Mayor Gale, Councilman Wright, Councilman Yokes, Councilman White, Councilman Payton, Councilman Norton, Councilman Carroll, Councilman Ficker, and our city manager, Larry Hanson. We want you to listen to words that was unpublished in the Valdosta Daily Times, unpublished by your TV mass media networks. You ask yourself, why didn't they publish it? And why is it that so many other newsworthy items that are taking place at public meetings are ignored? Yeah. Before it's over, you all are going to see and understand what Jesus said when he said, and ye shall know the truth, and that the truth shall make you free. And you also going to understand that there are those in power who do not want you free because somebody is benefiting by keeping you in a state of ignorance, not only for today, but for tomorrow, and that your children and coming generations will be ignorant forever. This is kvci.blogspot.com, George Boston Rhyme, doing what I do because I truly, truly love you. Peace. Bye-bye. We go.